Hello and welcome to the MacGuffinPodcast.com. We're doing another top 5 for you. I'm John.
I'm Ben.
And we are here in the hidden underground of Scarecrow Video. Try to find it. I'm sure you'll fail. And we're going to be talking about teen comedies, which is a favorite genre of mine personally. How do you feel, Ben?
I love teen comedies for sure. Was a teen at one time myself, and do like comedies, so...
Exactly. I think it's one thing good about this genre, just everyone can relate to it. And it's such a big deal when you're going through it. Like 16 Candles said, it's a time of your life that may last a lifetime.
Indeed.
So your number 5, Ben?
Oh, yeah. Well, all right. Well, let's start off with my number 5 is going to be Risky Business.
Great movie. Yeah.
I love... there's just a lot of things about this movie that I really enjoy. One of the things I think that sticks out most is the way the movie was made. The atmosphere of the film is got this very like new wave soundtrack going on. I think was it Tangerine Dream?
Yeah.
Did the score. It's very moody at times, and it almost takes this realistic bent when, even though it's very much not realistic, it's totally absurd. And it's definitely, in this true vein of the teen comedy.
Mm-hmm. It's also interesting because it's really dark. I mean, he could potentially be killed by this pimp, could ruin his life if he fails with the college guy coming in.
For sure, and it takes place at night a lot, too. So I think that kind of adds a lot to the darkness of, like you say, of the film. And of course, it's got one of probably actually my favorite line from any teen comedy movie ever. It's when
Curtis Armstrong.
The guy plays Booger in Revenge of the Nerds says to him, sometimes you just have to say what the fuck and make your move.
Yeah,
and
great line.
It's a great line. Of course, that's what causes all the trouble that the movie leads down. But it's a great line.
Yep, and Curtis Armstrong, showed up in so many teen movies, and he was so not a teenager.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, he was like the staple of like the best friend in teen comedies for sure.
All right, so moving on. My number 5 is from 1982. It is Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Excellent.
Amy Heckerling directed it. Cameron Crowe wrote it. And it was the first film for both of them, and I think it just showed really what was so great about them. Crowe especially, just really great dialogue, realistic characters, and then the style Heckerling brought to it, I think, took a lot of serious subjects. Jennifer Jason Leigh gets pregnant and has an abortion over the course of the film. Best friends fall out of friendship with each other. Big life decisions are made, but at the same time, there's still Spicoli there to lighten it up. Honestly, Sean Penn's best performance. Just got to throw that out there. Dude's a great actor, but seriously, to be that much of the California surfer dude and be the kind of person Sean Penn is, the well-read liberal, playing that idiot surfer dude, he's great in the film.
I don't think he's ever been as funny,
that's true,
as he was in that movie. And that's a shame, because he is a great comedic actor. And I think there's a lot of drama actors that do that, that start off as great comedic actors and kind of forget that they were great comedic actors and become this high and mighty drama actor.
But yeah, there's just so many great parts in that movie. Not just Spicoli. I think Judge Reinhold gave one of his best performances.
Sure.
And then also the whole thing with Rat and Stacy, their whole romantic interlude is great. So moving on.
All right, well, my number 4 is Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Classic,
I think we might hear more about this movie later on.
Classic teen movie. Really, it's hard to say anything about this film that hasn't already been said. Matthew Broderick's finest role. I'm sorry, but it is.
No, it's true. He just dug into that part, and it's such an amazing part as well. Any actor would be.
I think he's at his most charismatic. I'm sure there's a lot of people who would argue with me and say that he probably was better in some drama roles, but no, honestly, I think he.
I think most people might agree with you.
Finer than he is in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah, and I think it's a movie that is able to take kind of the over-the-topness of the teen genre and really keep some kind of reality while at the same time being more ridiculous than most. That might be a total contradiction, but there's no way that whole movie takes place in the 8 hours he should have been at school. Stuff that he accomplishes, but at the same time it has that heart and those characters.
And that's what's so great, and what I like about that movie is that it it's almost borderline surreal with the way it delves into this whole, like, the craziness of everything that he gets into is literally almost like this surrealist comedy in a way.
But as I said, we'll talk about that some more later. Moving on to my number 4, we're going to jump out of the 80s for the first time in the list. My number 4 is 1973's American Graffiti.
Oh, man.
And I love this movie. I think not only is it really funny, it's also at the same time a great drama. And I think that's something that the teen genre is able to pull off better than most. It's just, you can have comedy, you can have big life-altering moments, but since it's, you know, just included within the whole teen movie spectrum, you're able to balance that a lot better than in some other things, like maybe horror comedies I see fail so often.
I think that's a staple of being a teen, is that you've got a lot of humorous things going on in your life, and at the same time you do have a lot of serious, dramatic, or at least what feels like very serious and dramatic events and things happening to you.
And American Graffiti started just a lot of trends you would see show up in later teen movies. I mean, it's The Last Night Before College. The film all takes place in one night. There's the guy who wants to get out of the town and the guy who just kind of wants to stay and keep life simple. I think everyone can relate to different characters in this movie especially, and most teen movies.
For sure. All right, well, moving on to my number 3 is Superbad. Moving into the realm of the now, almost. I love Superbad. I think it nails the teen comedy, especially in a modern day setting, better than any film that I can think of in the last 10 years, honestly.
Yeah, no, you know what? I agree with you, and I honestly completely blanked on Superbad, but it's fine because we'll discuss it because it was on your list, but seriously,
I covered it for you.
I can't believe I forgot Superbad. I love this movie. One of my favorite films of the last decade, not comedy or otherwise. I think the characters are realistic, funny, just everything you could want, and it's
the conversations are off the wall and great.
Yeah,
I mean, like
almost every line is a great joke.
From the opening conversations in the car, talking about getting the Coen brothers to direct porn. You know, like it's just that movie goes great places with the dialogue.
And I think really one thing that is good about Superbad and a lot of the best teen comedies is it's based in reality. Like Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg wrote the script based on their own experiences as teenagers. They started writing when they were 13.
Exactly.
I mean, just everything about it screams, this is what teenage life is like. And with a lot of other movies, you just see silly situations from an adult perspective.
Which also brings it in comparison to American Graffiti, because that's a movie that was also based off of some of George Lucas's personal experiences.
Yeah. And then my number 3, we're jumping back into the 80s. This is with 1986's Lucas. I think it was Corey Haim's big break.
You know, I totally forgot about Lucas. I love that movie.
Yeah, it is such an amazing movie. It's honestly one of my favorites of all time. Yeah, Charlie Sheen's big in the news now for being crazy. But if you want to see Charlie Sheen at his most likable and his most realistic, I think in Lucas he does such a good job. One thing that's great about the movie is, from the outside, the plot could be seen as something you've seen a million other times in so many other teen movies. A nerdy kid falls in love with a popular girl, but she has a jockey boyfriend. And you would just think like, oh, the shenanigans, oh, the jock's a big asshole, oh, the gross out comedy. But instead, the movie really treats them all like people. And actually, Charlie Sheen is good friends with Corey Haim, and he feels bad that he's dating this girl that Corey Haim happens to like.
Yeah, that's actually the best aspect of the film, I think.
And, you know, it just really sells that first love. I mean, I think it's honestly the movie to get across the first time you fall in love better than anything. And, of course, Carrie Green was the redhead in Goonies. This was her other big role. Yeah. And I don't know anyone who grew up in the 80s is not in love with Carrie Green.
Yeah, that's probably true. All right, well, moving on to my number 2 at this point, I've picked Porkies. Yeah, the original teen sex comedy. Porkies is a fantastic classic, I think, as far as the teen comedy goes. You've got it's the American Pie before American Pie, you know, ever happened, where you have the whole, you know, conglomerate of teens, everybody kind of representing a walk of life, you know, a different aspect of a teenager.
And they're all horny.
And they're all horny. And it's, I mean, you know, it's the original get laid film, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's true. And it also is a big set piece comedy, something I was alluding to that a lot of teen movies took from the success of Porky's, like, you know, the penis in the shower and various other things. It was really went from comedy set piece to comedy set piece.
Which the penis in the shower, of course, leads to the great scene with Miss Ball wall breaker, and and her asking to identify.
Yeah, exactly. And moving along, my number 2 is a movie that we've talked about before, 1986's Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I think any talk about teen movies, you have to talk about John Hughes. And Ferris Bueller's Day Off is such an amazing movie, such a testament to his talent as a writer and director. I read somewhere that he wrote that movie in a week before a writer's strike. Like, that's impressive for a mediocre movie, but for an amazing movie. I honestly think this is one of the greatest movies ever made. I love Ferris Bueller's Day Off with a passion. And, I mean, John Hughes was a genius. It's honestly too bad that in later years his career devolved into Home Alone ripoffs.
Yeah, but he has a great cast with that movie, which is what I think helps make that film the good movie that it is. Like, every single person that's in that film, I think, is great.
Once
There's
again,
not
Charlie
one...
Sheen in his little bit scene.
He has a great cameo sequence in it, if you want to even call it that, I guess.
I think at that point you could throw that out as a cameo, but also you're right, like Alan Ruck and Mia Sara as the friends and girlfriend respectively. Like,
the parents even.
That's
I mean, they're
true.
solid.
Everything about it, a great, fun movie. Yeah.
For sure. All right, so are we moving on to...
Yeah, number 1, the
All right.
nitty-gritty.
This is it. My number 1, Revenge of the Nerds. Yeah, I have a soft spot in my heart for this movie, but I just love how much the jocks hate those nerds. Like, and they're fueled by John Goodman's, like, his hatred really is for the nerds is what fuels the jocks' hatred for the nerds. But the best part about that movie is just like, the nerds themselves are fantastic, and the fact that they join this fraternity that's an all African American fraternity. That's the best punchline joke in the entire movie. But I love how there was that Simpsons episode later that pretty much boils down what the entire Revenge of the Nerds is about, when Lisa extracts that there's a pheromone from nerds that enrages bullies. And that's really what this movie boils down to, is anytime a bully sees a nerd, they get enraged, and they just hate those nerds.
Exactly. And as Curtis Armstrong once again said so greatly, what the fuck is a frush? Revenge of the Nerds is a classic. But I got to go a little more serious for my number 1 pick. And that is, I've said it before, I'll die with this probably as being my number 1 film of all time. And that is The Breakfast Club. Once again, John Hughes. It has a lot of drama going on, but when you look in the video store, you go to Scarecrow, it's in the comedy section. Unfortunately, John Hughes doesn't have his own section at Scarecrow. Don't know what that's about. Maybe look into that, Scarecrow. But I just love this movie. The characters, I think, are all fully developed. You can relate them to people just every aspect about their characters, I think, rings true. What they talk about is, if you didn't have those conversations with people, you were thinking about that stuff.
It is pretty much the proto-teen film. I mean, it's, it's the one that has the, the jock, the nerd, the pretty girl.
All the groups broken down, the basket case.
Exactly.
And the criminal.
Yeah, and it deals with each one, it made sure that every teenager watching that film felt like they had a place in that movie.
And as far as the comedy aspect, Judd Nelson, just knocked it out of the park as John Bender. Definitely the role of a lifetime for him. And most of the film's comedy comes from his interaction with Paul Gleason as a principal.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
But yeah, there you have it, the MacGuffin Podcast Top 5 Teen Comedies. We laughed, we cried a little, much like in the best teen comedies. Let us know what you think. Anything we forgot about, like I forgot Superbad, Ben forgot Lucas. You can let us know at MacGuffinPodcast.com.
Thank you.